What's up, witches? My name is Taylor, and I'm the Tempest Witch here on YouTube. Today is the beginning of my journey on this year's Mead adventure. Last year, I decided that I was going to start making mead. It turned out all right. I made some mistakes. If you've seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. But now, it is a new year, and I would like to start making mead again. And it is dandelion season. It is at the peak of dandelion season, which is how you get blooms that are like this big. And I have to process these, so I figured I would take you along the journey. This is an interesting angle, but I figured I would talk to you as I'm cleaning these because there's a couple important things about mead that I figured you should all know. Let me do this. Is that better? That's better. Okay. So, I don't live very far from a cemetery, and that's pretty cool because there's large open fields and there's tons of wildflowers and dandelions especially, and I know they don't spray. That's another thing that you have to be very wary of. When you're getting your dandelions, it's great to get it from like your own yard if there's enough. There wasn't quite enough for what I'm trying to do, so I'm like, okay, I'll go to the cemetery, I'll go get some. That's where I got my dandelions from last year. And the fields always have these huge, beautiful buds. So make sure that you know where you're getting it from and make sure that people don't spray pesticides or any kind of weed killer, because you don't want that in your mead, because literally that's toxic. I could take this jar of flowers, bring it back home and do it there. The problem with that is dandelions squish down really easily, and that's why it looks like you have a bucket full. It's so many, but then they slowly get lower and lower. It's because they're compressing themselves, which then makes it way harder to get all the flowers out. So I suggest just doing it in the field if you can. So I'm just sitting here next to one of the morgue buildings because it's nice and shady because the sun is bright and very hot, and I'm a very fair-skinned person. So in addition to that, just wildcrafting out in the field. It's a nice day. I decided I wanted to be outside and I could just talk to y'all. So that's what we're doing. I've got this big old pile of flowers that I'm using right now. It was a good haul. Dudes in their big ass trucks. No, at first I got here and I saw that most of the dandelions had gone to seed. And I'm like, well, usually there's some blooms. Let me see if I can find it. And they were all on the edge of the hill that's directly facing the sun. And I'm like, that's why. Okay. So I picked up a bunch of them. I might get one more jar depending on how many flowers I get out of this bunch, but they're already starting to close because once you pick them, they go, So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Honestly, it's tedious work, but it gets fun after a while. It's just like, more efficient, having a grand old time. Also, when I get back to the house, I have one bag in the fridge already, just because I didn't want them all to go to seed or anything if they were getting close, and that'll keep them fresh. But also, I will wash them all and put them through a strainer to make sure there's no just debris or bugs or anything, just because I don't want that in my mead, you know? I totally forgot to mention this. The best time to pick dandelion flowers, if you haven't noticed, is when it's a full, bright, sunny day. Like sunflowers, dandelions open more when there's direct sunlight. So if it's an overcast day, they're probably going to be very closed and it's going to be extra hard to get them open and get all the flowers out. So what you want to do is, if you can, you want to get the younger blooms, which are ones that have the center still pretty stuck together, like they're not open. Let me find one. Like this one's a lot more open than this one. You see this one has a lot bigger of a center. This one is closer to being a seed, and this one is a lot closer to being green. So this one's fairly new, and you can just rip the center out and then just go around instead of having to rip out all the little ones around it. So, pro tip, wait till it's a sunny day to do this. Alright, we got the jar of dandelion flowers that says it's rose, but it's just in a jar. Also, I forgot my dad gave me a turtle shell, so that's pretty cool. And my other friend, Natasha, gave me this resin cat that you can use as a knife, which is pretty cool. But anyway, honey has been acquired, and what's really cool, my total came out to $12.34. Pretty nifty. Welcome to the next day! So, we've got our dandelion flowers all collected from yesterday, and now it's the actual process of making mead. We'll see if Thor decides to stay quiet. We never know. So I've had my dandelion flowers chilling in the fridge overnight. I have to rinse them still, make sure I get any debris and bugs off of them, and then we're gonna start making mead. So, let's get to it. Alright, now that I'm covered in dandelion flowers, so the plan is I've got 2 quarts worth of water, I've got 2 pounds of honey, and I've got 2 cups worth of loosely packed dandelion flowers. And then just for a little extra, I'm gonna add half a lemon. So, let's get to it. We're gonna see if it works out better this time. I rearranged for a little bit of scenery, so this makes a lot more sense. So we're gonna do this on low. We're gonna put our water in. This is why I use the big pot. Got 2 quarts worth of water, 2 pounds of honey, I'm gonna let this liquefy a little bit more. Like, yes, the honey is liquid, but it's not very thin. So I'm gonna let it mix with the water. And I might even do a little bit of this. Try to get as much honey out of the water as possible. My hands are still stained from yesterday. And then once this is a little bit more liquidy, then I will put the flowers in so that it can all infuse nicely. Still a little bit more. It's not necessarily a super glamorous process, but you know, sometimes the nitty-gritty is a lot more fun, so that's what we're working with. Out with you. Do its thing for a second, and then I will come back when it's a lot more liquidy and we can put the flowers in. I decided to be productive while I wait. I'm going to use lemon zest in addition to the lemon juice, just because, I don't know, lemon zest has a much better flavor in things. Easy killer. These are a little squishy, so it's a little hard, but it'll work. Also, you want to see something adorable? My friend Trisha gave me this. It's a lemon squeezer, lemon juicer thing. All right, so now that it's more liquidy, I turned up the heat. I'm gonna let it boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna take all the flowers and the lemon juice and the lemon zest, throw it in, and let it steep for like 20 minutes. Ooh, she frothy. All right, let's do it. Turn the heat off. I'm gonna put this bad boy in there, stir her up, and leave it for like 20 minutes. Does anybody else's stove make weird noises? All right, good and mixed. Excellent. I'll come back in 2 minutes. Whoa, throwing things. And welcome back to the chaos. I've gotten most of the liquid into the jars that I'm using right now. Now, here's the important part. I'm not going to put the yeast in yet, but I'm just putting the fermenting caps on because they're the only wide mouth jar caps that I have, and I don't want them to spill everywhere. But the thing with yeast is it needs to be cold. The reason that people say to make alcohol you have to leave things in cool, dry places, yeast needs to be at about 90 degrees in order to work. If it's any hotter than that, you'll kill all of the cultures and everything will just be useless, more or less. It's just water and honey. It won't make any alcohol content. So I'm going to stick these in the fridge for a while and wait till they come back down to temperature, which is really important. And then I will come back when I can put the yeast in it. So, and welcome back. I had some extra mead, so I'm just gonna simmer off the water and reduce it down to just be dandelion honey, and then I can use that in my tea and all sorts of other things. And I already strained the flowers out of it, so I'm not boiling those in. And then I'm just gonna put, like a teaspoon and a half of yeast in here. This is the Premier, I don't speak French, cuvée? We're gonna go with that in here, and that'll be our dry yeast. That's what ferments the honey and the sugar. So I'm gonna take these, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna leave them in a cool, dry place for like 2 weeks, and then I'll come back, re-rack them at 4 weeks, and then after that, re-rack it at 6. Actually, I'll probably bottle it then. Skull, my friend.